this is a workshop. So for today, tomorrow, and Sunday, if you can make it for all three, that would be amazing. I know on Sunday I'm up against Sean Baker. You know what? I could take him. I could take him. So we'll see. Do your best to come here for all 3 days because we're going to layer the stuff on day after day. The spirit behind this workshop is this idea that I believe we can launch your coaching business in 3 days. I honestly, literally believe if you started today, if you don't have a coaching business launched, you could launch it in 3 days. I'm not even being sensationalistic. I've literally said, if you came to my house for the weekend, we'd have you launched by Monday. It doesn't take long to do this as long as you know what you're doing. And I think that's where people get tripped up. So I'm Erin Power. I'm the Coaching and Curriculum Director at Primal Health Coach Institute. Who here knows Mark Sisson? It's so weird. I spoke to a guy downstairs who'd never heard of him. He's like, no, I never heard of him. That broke my heart. It was like, he's the godfather of everything, of the ancestral paleo movement, of which I think keto is, adjacent, right? So anyway, Mark Sisson started a health coaching school to train up health coaches to sort of go forth and spread his primal wisdom. We have a lot of primal health coaches in the room. Show of hands, primal health coaches, where are you? Yes! Big community of primal health coaches all over the world. It's really fun. And the number one question we get asked as health coaching educators is, how do I do this? How do I get started? I'm really passionate about keto or autoimmunity or weight loss or whatever. We're going to talk about all these different specialties. And the question is, how do I put myself out there? How do I get started? How do I find clients? Like, how do I make this a viable business or practice that I can do? So we literally answer this question all the time. My colleague Laura's in the back of the room. Laura, give them a wave. She's our admissions director. She's on the phone with people all day long, every day, who are like, I'm really passionate about health and wellness. I want to make this my whole life. How do I do it? Like, she answers that question every day. I answer that question every day. So I created this workshop to answer that question. And I truly believe, like I said earlier, if you came to my house for one weekend, we could have your business launch clearly. We have it out there in the marketplace, starting to drive interest to these clients, to these people that you want to help. So we need to understand those people, which we're going to do in our 3-day workshop, but we're going to actually start with you today. So in our 3-day workshop, we're going to go through this trajectory. But before we get into it, what are the characteristics of a workshop? How does a workshop maybe differ than a lecture? Interaction, thank you. It's not just me up here just talking at you. I don't want it to be like that. I don't want to just be talking at you. So I would really welcome some give and take on this. I think it's going to be really helpful if we're communicating together. It's just going to be really useful. So I don't find people at KetoCon are very shy usually. You guys shy? No, you're not shy. You got these ketones coursing through your brain. You're like, I'm on. So we're going to interact, okay? I do want to point out that we have an agenda. So today we're talking about your specialty and the problem that you solve. So get ready for that. I would love to have you share that. Tomorrow we're talking about your clients. We're not going to talk about that person at all today. We're literally talking about you today. Tomorrow we'll talk about the person you help, their frustrations and wants, and their vision of success. And then on Sunday, we're talking about more the brass tacks of building a business. So start selling. That's the first thing on the list. Isn't that weird? Start talking about it, then build it. What? That sounds upside down, but if you want to launch quickly, that's how you have to approach this. The foundational pillars, the proprietary spins, and then build the thing, okay? So that's what we're going to do over the next 3 days. Additional support, drop by the Primal Health Coach Institute booth for as many 15-minute business coaching sessions as you need. So I'm kind of putting a little time parameter around that just honestly because I'm an introvert. I just need a little mental decompression between. So but I do want you to take this on and come by the booth and like share with me and us what you're thinking, what you've come up with. We'll noodle on it together. I know I shouldn't say the word noodle. I should pick a different word. We'll noodle on it together and we'll finesse it. Actually, I'm teaching a business building course right now for our students. And I do this almost every day where I'll get into a Zoom room and just sit there by myself. And then people come in and they're like, I need help with this. What about this? Can you read this? Can you look at this? What do you think about this? And it's the most impactful way to actually make change is to just literally ask for what you need. So we'll be down at the booth all weekend, give or take, swing by the booth. The second bullet point on my list here, I was feeling very adventurous when I made this slide. Please be sure to get a copy of our business launch workbook. So when I made this slide, this is a perfect example. This is actually a really good example, gang. I wrote this slide and there was no workbook. It didn't exist. I just was like, yeah, I'll make a workbook, sure. So on the plane, I had a long plane ride here, started writing the workbook. It's 100 pages. So I didn't print it. It's a 100-page workbook that I just casually threw together on the airplane. So I wasn't able to get them printed, but I have a digital version of it for you. So if you come by the booth, you just give us your email address, we'll email it to you, okay? It's an awesome interactive workbook. It's gonna encapsulate everything we're talking about here. It's 100 pages. This is honestly probably the most valuable free business training you're ever gonna get. I'm just putting that out there, just so you know, like, it's a lot. So we're gonna talk about your specialty first. You guys ready to talk about this? I wanna know, what are you an expert in? No, I completely agree. He says, you can't possibly be an expert in everything. Totally agree. But are you an expert in something? Who's an expert in something? Who out there is an aspiring or practicing health coach or just a health consumer who feels like they're an expert in something pertinent to health? Okay. Not you. No, okay. Who, okay. Implementing keto with a big family. Yes. Specialty. I couldn't do that. No. If I have a client who's got a big family and they want to go keto, I'm like, what's your name? I'm like, Rebecca's got you. I'm gonna refer you to Rebecca. Okay, so now we've got a specialty in play. Who else has a specialty? Keto for epilepsy. Okay, can we go a little deeper? I love it. That's amazing. Is there a certain person type of, okay. Oh, so is he your son? Okay, so maybe keto for moms of epileptic sons, understanding epilepsy, something like that. I want to get it more focused in. So that's so interesting because, you know, in telling that origin story, it was like, I tried this thing that everybody said was going to work and it wasn't for me. And then I figured it out. It was this, there was a little bullet point I had on one of my previous slides. The foundational pillars, the proprietary spins. The proprietary spin is like for me, I'm old school paleo, sorry. I'm paleo. Anybody else paleo? Who identifies as paleo? Oh, thank goodness. Oh, I just feel so outdated when I say I'm just paleo. But like, I'm paleo, and one of my proprietary spins is I really think that circadian rhythms are crucial for metabolic health, right? So that's something that I talk about in my realm that nobody is really talking about. So your proprietary spin is kind of like, look, I tried this keto thing. It was all right, but it didn't work for me. And there's probably a lot of people out there for whom it doesn't work. So if it doesn't work for you, I got this specialty, right? All right, what other specialties do we have? Carnivore and fasting, okay. I'm sorry, I'm being so annoying with this. I'm so sorry. Carnivore and fasting, can I be really honest? That doesn't sound like a specialty. I know that I get that it's probably something you love, but like, is there something even more like, what do you specialize in with regard to that? Okay, well, that's good. We're gonna figure it out. All right, yes. Walking. I love that specialty. Oh, yes. Carnivore for autism. This is awesome. Okay, so we want to talk about specialty. A lot of times when business coaches, which I'm not, by the way, I'm not a business coach, just so we're clear. I'm just a health coach that's in business. I'm a health coach that has a successful business. And so I really built this business training on what our health coaches are asking, but also how I set up my own business. But a lot of business coaches will have you do this I help statement. Have you guys ever, I help, I don't know, busy executive dads lose the pot belly while, you know, like that whole spiel, which is a nice Instagram bio, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about you, your specialty. What is the very specific area of health that you zero in on? And so, for example, my area of specialty is metabolic flexibility for people who, for whom conventional dieting, exercising doesn't work. So it's like the people who I see at the gym who are training their faces off and they're still chubby. It's like, I got you. Your metabolism's not, you know, it's broken. I don't like saying your metabolism is broken because it's scientifically inaccurate, but that's what they think. So I'm working with people who think their metabolisms are broken because they're in the gym punishing themselves and it's not working anymore, right? So that's like a specific kind of person. It's not all the metabolically inflexible people in the world. It's not all the metabolic syndrome people of the world. I'm not saying metabolic syndrome is my specialty because that's 144 million American adults or something like that. Like it's not zeroed in enough. So I want you to really zero in and get very specific on what you're an expert in. And by the way, how do you feel about declaring yourself an expert? Okay, so by show of thumbs, that's the only finger I'm allowing. Yes, I'm an expert, or I'm not an expert. Where are we at? Mostly sideways thumbs, some up thumbs. Okay, I love the up thumb people. That's great. Do I see any down thumb people? Who are the down thumb people? I didn't see a single down thumb. Bravo, I love that. So the sideways thumb, totally get it. It feels weird to declare yourself an expert in something. We're at this conference full of experts. You're like, no, I'm just a conference attendee. I'm not up on the stage. I'm not an expert. But you literally have to believe yourself an expert in the thing that you're an expert in, because otherwise a client won't hire you. Like a client doesn't seek out generalist help. They don't seek out the third, fourth, fifth best plumber, massage therapist, house painter. They're looking for the expert, right? You know this because you're a consumer. Right? When you are looking for something, for expert help with something, do you Google and then hit like page 10 of the Google search results? Or are you like, who's the best here? Do you hit Yelp and like, I'm looking for a solid 2-star review? Like what? No, you're looking for an expert. So you have to declare yourself an expert. So I want you to think, what am I actually an expert in, right? So maybe I'll go here to these guys in the front who were like, keto for epilepsy because you have an epileptic son. That's such an expert thing. I have a student in my business building course right now who similarly is working through type 1 diabetes for the caregivers of the type 1 diabetic. So she doesn't specialize in type 1 diabetes. She's like the caregiver of the type 1 diabetic, the spouse or the parent. I love that. That's so zeroed in. And if a person is a caregiver of a type 1 diabetic, well, they're like, that's me. She's the expert. That person's the expert for me. If the person is, I've got metabolic syndrome, where's my expert? That never happens. That never happens. A metabolic syndrome person never says, gee, I'd really like to fix this metabolic syndrome, and they're not Googling the answer to that. It's sort of like, what are people Googling that you need to be the expert at, okay? So I want you to think really specifically like that, okay? Ultimately, what we're going to do here in this workshop, when we talk about building a health coaching business, you have to build a tangible product. Does that make sense? If I say product, what do you think? Product, right? This thing I went to the store and bought. I went to the store and I bought this thing, and it was exorbitantly expensive, but I threw my credit card at it anyway because I really wanted it. I needed it. I liked it. It had a price tag. It has a set of terms and conditions. It has a set of features and benefits. It's a thing I bought. That's literally what you have to create for your health coaches, for your health coaching business to flourish. It's a product, right? So that's why we're starting with specialty, because you have to create a specialized product that people are looking for. But I want you to think about your health coaching business as a tangible product, a thing that you are going to put a price tag on and sell. And that's what I want you to get out of today's session, because nobody's out there Googling health. I would like health. Somebody help me with health. I had a conversation with a fella at the booth. I don't know if he's in here. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I'm just gonna make sure he's not in here before I do throw him under the bus. I was like, hey, are you a health coach? He said, sure am. I said, great. What's your specialty? He said, oh, everything. I'm like, yeah, well, but who do you help though? He's like, yeah, just like everyone. People with problems. And I said that I feel for this guy, because I think we all want to help everyone, right? We would love to help everyone, but we're literally not going to. So we need to put that out of our mind and build a specific bespoke product that solves a specific problem for a specific person who needs it. So now we've just narrowed the field. How do you feel about that? There's now this many people. I'm getting nods. Like, that's all you need. When you get the workbook, so when you come down to our booth and put your name in to get the workbook, I've included an essay in the workbook called The 1,000 True Fans. Have you guys heard of this one? Anybody who started a business, 1,000 True Fans. That's all you need. You need 1,000 true fans who will buy anything you ever sell, and you are good to go. That's all you need for a successful business. You don't need all 144 million adult Americans that are pre-diabetic. You don't need them all. Great news. But what small section of this population are you the expert in helping? So I need you to think about yourself as an expert. That's some of your homework for today. There's homework, by the way. That's the other thing about a workshop. There's homework. Sorry, you gotta do your homework, okay? So you're going to go do your homework, come to the booth, we're going to hash it out. But I need you to think about what your specialty is, okay? Clients only want specialist help. They don't want generalist advice. They seek authority. Now, imposter syndrome prevails. This is where we have the sideways thumbs, like, I'm not really an expert. It's completely fine. Health coaches hate calling themselves experts. That's fine. It's fine, because we're kind of a heart-centered, service-oriented type of health professional who wants to just kind of cuddle everybody in a warm hug, but this is your business and you have to be an expert. Otherwise, it's honestly not gonna work. You want it to work? You'd like it to work, wouldn't you? It's cool, okay. So we're gonna talk about your homework here for this first section. I'm hustling right along, there's still a second section for today. Make decisions quickly, decide and move. So please don't hem and haw. There is some obvious, this is my specialty, this is it for me. This is the thing I am uniquely and specially qualified to help people with. In the workbook that you download, there's exercises that are gonna help you zero in on this. So please make sure you get that. I'm just gonna keep plugging the workbook because I worked on it a lot. And it typed my fingers to the bone. Yes. Oh yes, how do you get that again? It's a great question. So the workbook that I made is 100 pages, and so I couldn't get it printed. So it's a digital workbook, it's a PDF, and you come to our booth and put your email in. It's purely, we have 2 computers with emails. We have a scholarship draw we're giving away because we're a health coaching school. And then we have this other page where it's like, put your name in here to get the workbook. It'll be emailed to you, download it, start working away on it. It's gonna help you zero in on your expertise if you're still kind of sideways thumb about your expertise. We gotta get you to an up thumb. We gotta decide and move, because this is the early phase and there's a lot more to do. But I really do see this analysis paralysis tripping a lot of people up. I could help this person, I could help that person, I could help this guy, I could help that guy. You could, and you might eventually, but we're here to launch your coaching business, launch it. So you have to decide and move. And this is just a nice segue into one of my greatest pet peeves, and I wonder if anybody in this room is thinking about this. Yeah, but then how do I grow it? Yeah, but how do I grow my business? It's like, you don't even have one yet. You gotta have something before you can grow it. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doing? Got you. Okay, first of all, I love truck drivers as a specialty. I'm obsessed with truck drivers as a specialty. We have at least one, if not 3 or 4, Primal Health Coaches that specialize in truck drivers. Such a cool market. I want to geek out for 1 second. They're fat. And then in the US, you can lose your license if your HbA1c. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So, yeah, it's a big problem. It's a big problem, but what I thought was really interesting about what you said about your own journey, by the way, that's how you figure out your specialties, you connect to your own journey. Spoiler alert, that's how you do it. But it's like, I blew up to 185 pounds, and then I lost, 45 pounds, basically doing nothing, just changing your diet a little bit. So think about that, that's such a compelling specialty. I help truck drivers lose, whatever we're gonna say, I don't have the language up the tip of my tongue, but while doing nothing. That's actually part of the language that I help my clients with, because they're in the gym punishing themselves. They've been dieting their whole lives. It's like, oh, guess what? If you work with me, you don't have to do that anymore. We're just going to effortlessly, get this rolling for you. So it's compelling. And the truck driver specialty is very, very important and really cool. And so think about that, truck drivers, that's so specific, right? So I want you to decide and move, everybody. Decide on your specialty, get our workbook, start to chip away at your specialty, your area of expertise. Be unapologetic about it. So stretch yourself without hand wringing or worrying that it's too much. No one's judging you. I get this sort of pushback from people all the time. What if I was talking to one of my students the other day, He said, if I put this messaging out there, other health coaches are going to think or other health professionals are going to think I'm a charlatan or a snake oil person. It's like, who cares? Who cares? That's not your target audience. He was really hemming and hawing about the language around industrial seed oils. He's like, I don't want to be too sensationalistic because the research isn't quite there yet. And some of the research says this. And so I was like, dude, your clients don't care about what the research says. Like if you have a hook, if this is that important to you, that's your specialty, just go for it without worrying about what we're all thinking. We're not here to sell to each other. Like I'm not your client. So say what you need to say and just be unapologetic about it. Behave as if you have tenure in the space. Like this newbie energy, I can't handle it. It's like, yeah, I'm just new, so I'm just going to do it for free. I'm just going to take practice clients. I'm going to make my mother-in-law do it. It's like, no, none of that's going to work. So you're stepping into this space. You came to this workshop. You got to make the thing, put it out there like an expert. Your expert energy is what people are looking to pick up on. They're not going to hire you if you're giving out newbie energy. So don't price yourself like a newbie. Don't talk about yourself like a newbie. Every piece of content you're going to put out there in the world, we're going to talk about content marketing in this workshop as well, not today, but later. Every single thing you put out there is coming from this place of I'm an expert and here's my expert beliefs and opinions. So don't give me that newbie energy. And do know that you occupy in a unique space. You are an expert who owns a unique corner of the market. And I know you don't think you do because we're all here at KetoCon. So it's like, well, keto's saturated. No, think about it. I want you to think about the fact that a saturated market is actually an interesting thing. It means that there's a market. Great news. There's a market, it's a huge market. There's a whole conference about keto. So that's wild to me that even exists, The market isn't saturated, it's very ripe. Think about more of a ripe market than a saturated one. Did you have your hand up? Your hand up? Okay.
I just wanted to say one of the things that I work against imposter syndrome is the quote that I once heard. Successful people overpromise.
Yes. Overpromise and overdeliver. Love that.
No, successful people overpromise and do what they have to do to overdeliver.
Amazing. Yeah. Right, exactly. Like put a slide on your presentation that evokes a workbook that doesn't exist, and then write the workbook on the plane. Yeah. Well, this is a great point. I actually want you to take steps. Like literally the way I coach business building is, okay, give me the basic idea of your business, and then before it exists, go out and start talking about it as though it exists. Because as soon as you start doing that, well, then it has to exist. Now I have to make it. But if we're just like nebulously worrying about our logo or our color scheme, or should I hire somebody to build my website, or should I do it myself? Should I use Squarespace or WordPress? It's like, oh my gosh. So there's this analogy I'm using in my business building course, which is like, there's a cart and then there's a horse that goes in front of the cart. We're in horse mode. Like that's cart. Nope, that's cart. I'll put everything in the cart. And so, yeah. Leap before, I love it. Leap in the net will appear. All of these, well, we actually we do push back a little bit on the leap language sometimes in our school. It's just, Lauren, we're like intentionally step. Yeah, we're like, that's not. It does. Well, I was chatting, what's your name again? I forgot. Yeah, I was talking to Katie and at the booth, and I said, are you a health coach? She's like, yeah. And then she was telling me about this really cool adventure she's going. She's walking across the US, which is wild. And I was like, so what's the deal there? Like, why are you doing that? She's like, oh, I'm a walking coach. And I was like, walking coach. The world needs a walking coach. Though I can think of 1,000 things off the top of my head that we need to specialize in. Do you know what I mean? Like, the specialty can't be narrow enough. So just go for it, okay? Now we're going to talk about the problem that you solve. So this is really important because your specialty is, maybe it's whatever, epilepsy for moms managing kids' epilepsy, or we're doing walking, or we're doing, this sort of maybe carnivore approach to carb cravings. Did I get that right? Sugar cravings-ish? I'm paraphrasing it. Keto doesn't work? That's such a bold statement to make at a keto conference. I love that. I am so here for that. Okay, so I'll talk about this in a second. I don't want to get too mired in these anecdotes, but I want you to consider your health coaching practice a consumer good or service that your customer will buy. So I used the iPhone example earlier. It has a price tag, it has a list of features and benefits, it solves a problem, it delivers a specific outcome. Like, you do need to think about this thing as a product, okay? The problem that you solve I want you to start by listing out the specific problems you know you can solve. So we have things like carb addiction, sugar addiction. We have things like, what would be like, are we managing seizures? Yeah, managing seizures. I'm helping my clients lose weight without giving up wine and things like that. So like specific problems that you can solve that are really interesting and compelling. This is one of the exercises in the work that I want you to think about. So we're going to think about problems. Thinking about problems, I'm going to pull up my own workbook here and just kind of sort of recite to you one of the exercises in the workbook that I think is helpful. Okay. So when you consider what you'll become the expert in, you might have your sights set on a certain disease or condition, right? So, or something you have a lot of personal experience with. So Hashimoto's, IBS, type 2 diabetes, parasites, mold, all these trendy things that seem to be coming and going into the zeitgeist. And while some of your clients might be seeking help with these specific conditions, it's more likely they're seeking help with the way it feels, the lived experience of it. Okay, so their bleeding neck problem is not IBS. It's I have to be within 10 feet of a bathroom at all times. Like I live my life near a bathroom. That's the problem. That's the problem they're desperate for the help with. So your messaging, your solution is, I'm going to help you achieve freedom from the bathroom or whatever language that's going to be, right? They have to pull over urgently when they're driving. They spend too much time inside disgusting public restrooms. Like they miss out on social events because they're just worried the food is going to set them off or they'll have to run to the bathroom. Like the problems of IBS are so dire for the person struggling with them that if you can speak that and build a solution that solves those actual lived experience problems, people will pay. I know that sounds maybe a little bit sort of gross, like this idea of people paying you. Does that sound gross? Who feels gross about people paying them? First, we should probably ask that question first. Who feels gross about people paying them for their specialty help? Anybody? Okay. Not anymore. Yeah, I saw a couple little hands go up. So yeah, it feels weird, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Correct. Yes. They've invested money, they've invested time, they've invested mental energy, they've spent and spent and spent and spent. I'm not here to tell you that people are going to just make it rain for you when you go to business as a health coach because they're nervous. It's another thing. It's like, I tried everything. I've tried so many things. Is this thing going to be the thing that works? And that's why being super clear about your specialty is critical, because if you are specifically speaking about a specific cluster of symptoms or lived experience sort of sound bites that they're struggling with, they can't help but want to work. They're waiting for you to create this solution, this final solution. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Well, and this actually brings back a really critical point that I'm sure most of us at some level know. But the very first thing you have to get clear on when you're starting your health coaching business is like, what was my journey? Like, what did I go through? Most of us, I can think of very, very few exceptions, very precious few. Most of us are going to work with people who were us before, right? Us before. So pre-diabetic, I was pre-diabetic, but I'm not working with pre-diabetics because, again, that's like everyone. I'm working with women in their 30s who are overtraining and over-dieting and still getting fat and are checked out of life and have no mental energy and all the things that I was, all the things I was feeling. Was I feeling bummed about being pre-diabetic? No. I was feeling really miserable in my body, in my brain, in my clothes, everywhere. So that's the really critical part is if ever you get lost at what's the benefit of what I do, well, you know what the benefit of is what you do because you just lived through it, and just remember that. So if for some of you, maybe it's been a long time since you had your health transformation, and maybe some of you didn't have a really tremendous health transformation. We hear that a lot from people like, oh, my health transformation wasn't that extreme. It doesn't matter. You have a journey to tag to. If you can't remember what it was, that would be a really important exercise. It's one of the first things we get our health coaching students to do in our course is like, tell your story. Like what brought you? Why are you at Primal Health Coach Institute? Why did you start following Mark Sisson? Or, why did you enroll in this school? Like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And I want people to really understand that. So that's a really important, good point to bring back up. So something that my business coach actually said to me, I have a business coach myself because, coaches need coaches. And he said, people don't buy prevention. They buy solutions to the immediate problem. What do you guys think of that? True, right? So here's an example. I've got a fellow in my business course right now who we're doing this exercise. He said, well, my area of specialty is heart attack prevention. I was like, okay, tell me about that. He said, well, I survived a heart attack. And then I did all the things that my doctor told me to do to prevent a future heart attack. And I just started feeling older and older and sicker and worse and worse. And I said, I was worried I was going to have another heart attack following the conventional wisdom. So I decided to educate myself on some unconventional approaches to heart health. And now I've never felt better. And I feel absolute confidence I'm not going to have a heart attack again. So, which is an amazing story. And also, I'm sure it probably raises some ire in this room, like, conventional healthcare. Gosh, those darn guys with their conventional wisdom. But what is his actual specialty? People who already had heart attacks and don't want a second heart attack. Well, heart attack prevention is too general. It's like, I don't really want second heart attack prevention, or he's the health coach for people who have had heart attacks. You already had a heart attack and you want to thrive after your heart attack. Let's not even evoke the second heart attack, but you want to thrive after your heart attack. That's his specialty. Wow, that's compelling. But heart attack prevention sounds like, honestly, a CDC booklet you can download off the web. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's not a specialty that's really it's not a problem. No one's heart attack recovery. Yeah, something to the effect of, you've had a heart attack. I'm your health coach. That's cool. If I've had a heart attack, please. I'm seeking out the guy who knows how to work with people who had heart attacks. That's interesting. So I want you to think about the problem you solve in that way. Use some of these examples, okay? Again, the workbook, which you can download because it's 100 pages. You come to our booth, we'll hook you up. It's going to walk you through this, okay? You want to start thinking, again, the reason we want to connect back to your story is so you can remember what it felt like. That's the most important thing, okay? What it felt like. The upsides of saturated market, because that's everyone's concern. I talked about this a second ago. It means there is a market. So I'm not mad if in fact, almost every health coach I talk to, it seems like, is doing the exact same thing I'm doing, right? Everyone's doing insulin resistance. Well, I should hope so, because it's kind of a dire problem globally. So I'm glad to have the help, to be really honest with you. But it's like, hey, people are already paying for this service. And I use the example, think about where you live. Who here lives in a medium-sized town, city? I think most of us do. I don't, maybe you do. But in the city or town you live in or near, how many hair salons are there? How many dentist offices are there? It's not like dental schools are closing up, we're done, there's too many dentists. We have enough dentists, we don't need any more dentists. People are still going to dental school and still opening dental offices because there's a market for dentistry. There's a market for everything. So a saturated market just means there's a healthy market. That's a good thing, because we hear that all the time. Everyone's doing what I want to do. There's no room for me in the market. It's there's tons of room for you in the market. Jump on in. So I just want you guys, if that's one of your sticking points. Laura, yeah.
The idea, I hear this all the time.
Yes. That's right.
Facebook, they know you're reading all these people. If you want blood sugar, go to the grocery and observe the shopping cart. Because every person in the grocery store will realize how big the problem is, how not saturated the market actually is. And that's gonna hire you. Let's not speak to the people that are already doing it.
Exactly.
Right? Don't speak to the people that don't need your help. You need to speak to the people that are doing it. It's self-help coaching.
Yeah.
The problem is not saturated.
That's right. Bingo. That's right. You want feisty, Laura's got you. Do you know there's a whole, okay, Ladies, do you ever go on Instagram and go down the makeup tutorial rabbit hole? Have you ever stumbled into that section of Instagram? What? What are the tutorials?
Oh, that.
I know, but it's like, what is this? What are they doing? But there's a whole branch of Instagram that does that. There's a whole beekeeping branch of Instagram. There's like, I fell down a very strange TikTok rabbit hole. I hate TikTok for that reason, but like, I'm not going to tell you what it was. It was so specific. I was like, wow, I didn't even know this existed. That's because my filter bubble, which is what Laura's talking about, the filter bubble, which is also, by the way, in the workbook. Thought of everything. You're being served up content that you think is important, and so don't worry about it. It does seem saturated from your point of view. It's not. Don't worry. There's hundreds and hundreds of millions of people that really desperately need our help. We only need 1,000 true fans, so there's lots to go around. Okay, so upsides of a saturated market. Your homework for this section of the workshop is to stake your claim. What problem will you solve, and how for whom? So what's the problem, right? So what are they struggling with? So I want you to think symptomatically rather than diagnosed disease state. What are they living with? What does it feel like? What is keeping them up at night? What other words can we use to really, explain this, right? What are they feeling in their bodies? People they make these decisions based on how they're feeling right now. They don't buy prevention. It's how I'm feeling right now, the terribleness of this feeling right now that needs to change right now. What problem is that? And then how do you solve it? So that's actually a future lesson in this workshop, but I do need you to start thinking about it now. So I solve insulin resistance. Well, how do I do that? I have a specific approach I take my clients through. So think about this. I have a specific approach my clients go through. This is now my product. My product, right? This is the thing I enroll them in. I take them through my methodology. This is how I solve insulin resistance. Spoiler alert, it's paleo. I didn't invent it, but I have a way I do it, and my clients don't know it's paleo. They have no idea. They're not in that filter bubble. They never heard of it, right? They just Erin's approach. Erin's the expert on fixing this sort of abdominal fat that my crushing, punishing exercise routine isn't budging. That's all they know. Erin has the solution for that. I have the solution for that. I didn't invent it, but it doesn't matter because 1,000 true fans that need to know me think I did. So how are you going to solve it? You do need to start thinking about the steps, and that's actually what tomorrow's workshop is. Like, what are I call them the foundational pillars. So for example, my foundational pillars we have the abandoning conventional wisdom. So forget everything you thought you knew about diet and exercise, because it's clearly not working. The anti-inflammatory foundation. I teach them about fuel, how fuel works in the body. And then I have this thing called the funnel, TM, registered trademark, it's not really, but the funnel, which is my proprietary spin on the paleo template, which is just honestly circadian meal timing. And I don't even talk about exercise. I don't even talk about sleep or stress or any of the other things. It's like, here's my foundational pillars to get your metabolism fired up, metabolically flexible. So that's the how. Like, how would you take people through it? And you're like, well, I don't know how I take people through it. I've never done that before. Well, you took yourself through it. How did you do it? What was the first thing you did? What was the second thing you did? Just start thinking. Just if you haven't done this in a while, reflect back on your own health journey. What brought you to KetoCon? Like, what's the origin story of you being here? Think through the steps you took, okay? That's the how. And then for whom? Who's this person? And it's good to get pretty specific on them, right? We've had some really great specific examples today. But like women, moms, it's like that's not specific enough. We need a bit more. That's your homework. Is this a serious problem that people will pay money to solve? / are they Googling it? I want you to think about things that people Google. Like, if you're searching for a plumber to do warranty work on your new build house, you're not searching, plumbers. You're like, I need a plumber who can come do this warranty work. It lives in my neighborhood that can get here in the next 12 hours, that has high ratings, and right? Like, all those very specific keywords. If you were trying to find somebody, what would you Google? You know what? One of the most useful exercises you can do when you're trying to build a consumer product, which is what we're trying to build here, is remember that you're a consumer. Like, how do you shop for things? How would you shop for somebody to solve your problem? What would you Google? What search terms would you use? What would you expect? What would you want the customer experience to be like? If you found this person and you went to their Instagram page and there was nothing there, how would you feel? Or if you went to their Instagram page and there was a bunch of stuff there and you read it and you liked it, how would you feel? And then if there's a clear way to click through and book with them or not, like I want you to think through this customer experience. When they find you, what do they learn about you? Does it feel compelling enough to click through? Okay. But also I want you to think through how this problem shows up in that client's life. Okay. So this is your homework for our first session. Your specialty and your product. They don't believe you. They don't want to hear what you're telling them. That's not your client then. They wouldn't be working with you. Like a client who actually signs up to work with you wants you to tell them what to do. So this is the thing. This is a really important coaching piece, which is that we don't foist our points of view on people. Nobody likes that. You know that. We all know that because when we went keto or paleo, in my case, I told everybody and they were like, shut up. I don't care. But like my clients aren't telling me to shut up. They're paying me to that's the first thing is that objection wise, but you will get objections, pushback, we'll call it, from clients, right? Because first of all, they've been programmed into the conventional wisdom, or, in the case of truck drivers, there's a whole cultural construct around truck stops and guzzling coffee and whatever else truck drivers are kind of, programmed for. So, but the thing is, when I look at that as a health coach, that's barriers. These are simple barriers. That's my job. Oh my gosh, that's my whole job. It's like, what's the barrier? Let's go. Barrier, got you. Let's figure out a solution. Let's co-create a solution. So now we're getting into the realm of like coaching mastery. Anytime you're thinking about what people are going to ask or say or push back against, you write that down in your notes app. That's a blog post. That's an Instagram post. That's a piece of curriculum in your course. You have so much to say, which is great. You're actually kind of queuing me up for like the next section of this workshop, which is like, how do we put ourselves out there? You have a lot to say, and it's because you've had people push back and share their boundaries with you. Who else had a question or, yeah? Correct. Okay. So this is perfect. Okay. So what she's saying is you're qualifying your client or they're, it's a co-qualification. They found you said the right things. They were liking what you're saying. They're kind of in your orbit now, but even before any of that, because that's all like kind of marketing as far as I'm concerned, marketing and, your sales and enrollment stuff, which we might touch on lightly in this workshop, but I don't know. We'll see if we have time. But from my perspective, it's like, but that all starts up here with like, I'm the expert in this and I know how to solve these problems. And I'm talking about it now in my social feeds. And I do keep talking about social media. And I'm sure I'm getting a lot of like, whoa, I don't do social media because Zuckerberg and the whole, but it's like, I'm sorry, like 4 billion users on those two platforms. And I feel like your clients are, I'm just going to encourage you guys to use social media as your marketing tool. But the point is, we get qualified clients. Like truly anybody who clicks the book now button to work with me already knows they want to work with me because I'm an expert at this, which is their problem. They've read a few things I've had to say, so they understand my unique approach to it. They're like, this is the coach for me. Let's book a call. When I get on the call, it's almost always a hell yes, because they've done their research as consumers do now. And you're a consumer. So you know how you buy things. How do you buy anything? You read the reviews, you research it, you ask your friends, you get referrals. Like this is how people buy stuff now. You follow along on Instagram for a while and to make sure you like them, and then you make a purchase. But this whole idea of the funnel is exactly true. That's the sort of the marketing sales funnel. In my opinion, it starts with I'm an expert that solves this problem in this certain way. So the product is actually the top of the funnel. And so when we get the question, how do I put myself out there? We get the question, where do I find clients? It's like, well, they're going to find you. They're going to find you. And when they do find you, what do they find? Is it this vague, I help everyone? Is it heart attack prevention? Or is it a very specific bleeding neck problem that they're immediately struggling with right now? And do you position yourself as the expert that solves that problem? And if you don't, they're clicking by that you didn't catch their eye. So that's why this is the top of the funnel. You want to find clients, encourage them to find you, and encourage them to become so obsessed with the very existence of you as a health coach that they can't click away. This is a good conversation around how we qualify, because I've had students ask me that too. It's like, what if I get somebody who's like a vegan? I'm like, you won't. Like, how would that ever happen? I mean, like if you're putting yourself gnawing on a rib steak on your Instagram, you're not getting vegan clients clicking through. It's like it never happens. And I get that question a lot. What if you get somebody on a discovery call who is a really bad fit? It's like, I can't remember the last time that happened. Just they're qualifying themselves. Yeah. Oh, Because you're not a medical expert. Interesting. Well, good news. You're a health coach. And, oh yeah. Yeah. You're in the mental health space as a health coach or? Okay. Do you have to? Is that like a requirement of your, you don't have to? Yeah. If I was a licensed medical professional, I would be leveraging that in my health coaching business. Yeah. So I don't know the scope of practice of therapists, mental health professionals, but like, for example, we have a ton of nurse practitioners who they have an elevated scope of practice over a health coach. They can, request blood, labs and stuff like that, which health coaches can't do, but let's not get started on that. And so they have a broader scope of practice. So if you're comfortable combining the two, that's a real cool opportunity. Like health coaching by itself is very cool. Like I feel really fortunate I get to be a health coach because I don't think my clients need more diagnoses or dodgy advice from I just feel like they've been through the medical system enough and it didn't help them. And it's like, well, I'm going to do something completely different. Let's talk about how you feel. Let's talk about how this shows up in your day-to-day life. Let's just work through barriers and the actionable on the ground stuff that they've literally been struggling with. I personally like just being a health coach. I think it's, I know for a fact that it's a growing industry. Laura and I've been in it for a long, long time. And if you guys listen to Health Coach Radio, who's a Health Coach Radio listener? Yes. Okay. Well, you guys, it's only the longest running health coaching podcast of all time. So we're in like our fifth year. Publish every week for 5 years. We're the hardest working women in health coaching, Laura and myself, just putting that out there. We've been at it for a long, long time. We've been in the health coaching industry for a long time. We've seen it exponentially grow. This is a really cool time to get into it. And it's a cool credential in and of itself. But there's a lot to be learned by health coaches that have successful practices because we're all doing it a little bit different. And so like you kind of have this sort of like you've got this multidisciplinary sort of cobbling together the income through, these different sort of avenues. There's a lot to be learned by people who are practicing already. But I think I don't think I know that what underlies this is an area of specialty, a signature methodology, a proprietary process, like even the language you use. My walking athletes, I'm just like, oh, love that. That is so great. Like you want to like create this completely bespoke thing that never existed before. You have to create a thing that never existed before. And so that's where you have to like harness a bit of creativity, conceptual power, but also you have to believe that it needs to exist and that you are the expert. So we circle back, like you are an expert in something. You really are. And the thing you're an expert in, you might think, well, that's not a big deal, but it's a big deal. And it only has to be a big deal for roughly 1,000 people in the whole wide world. That's all you need to know. And that's actually pretty exciting. And I hope that you're feeling empowered by the fact that your expertise is critically important for the people who need to find it. And when they find it, they're going to be so excited that you created this program for them. So this is our outcome for today. This weekend's workshop is creating a health coaching product. Now I'm going to go back to the very beginning, which was you can do this in 3 days. If you are able to attend all these 3 sessions, and if you download the workbook, which by the way, if you go to our booth and put your name in, you can download the workbook. It's a 100-page PDF. It's a lot. I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. It was a long flight. But anyway, do this work because there's nothing stopping you. You could have a business launched by Monday. And I'm not kidding you. I launched my friend's landscaping business at lunch one day. We went out for lunch. He's like, could you help me like build a website? I'm like, yes. Or whatever. He wanted to start a landscaping business. And I was like, okay, let's get you your landing page. Let's get you a payment system. Let's buy your URL. Let's hook it up. Let's get you professionally, put some pictures on here, stock photography, boom. His business was launched at the end of lunch. Like it doesn't take that long. I think what we do is we kind of blow it out of proportion. I'm like, oh, should I be an LLC? Should I get liability insurance? We're not even talking about that. I'm literally not going to talk about that in this session. But we're talking about the things that create the product that people will then buy. You had a question. Okay, so the question is if you have like, I can help these people, I can do this. You have these 2 different specialties. I would just pick one. And literally this is the most like specific advice. Just pick one and move, right? Just pick one and move for now. And I don't know, flip a coin. Or if there's one that slightly edges out the other in terms of your preference or that you really think you can help. If there's just even an edge, pick that one and move. The deal is like, it's not forever. It's literally not forever. you could come back to the second group and say, I'm going to also create a second product for these guys. Or you know what, I'm going to focus on them instead, but it's okay. But the act of actually just getting started is what we're trying to do here. So you just got to pick one. And that actually brings up another point, which is this is literally not forever. Like, what do we say? Like, this is going to iterate and iterate and iterate and iterate for 3 years. Like, boom, 3 years. Whatever you do today, it's not going to look the same next week or the following week. When I created my program, which would have been almost 10 years ago, I changed it every single time a client came in. Client number 1 came through and I built it with her. I built it 5 minutes ahead of her. Like, I'm like, And then I was like, okay, program built, nice. I work well under pressure. I would hope that we all kind of do. I mean, but the second client came through and I was like, oh, this isn't quite working as well for her. So I adjusted as we went. Third client came through, fifth client, 25th client, 70th client came through. After 3 years, I had a program that was like, I could enroll anybody in this and it works. But it didn't work right out the gate. And I think you have to sort of suspend your belief that you're going to knock this out of the park. But we certainly won't even bunt if you don't take a swing. I'm going to stop with the baseball metaphors. I'm not doing a good job. So just pick one and move. That's one of my bullet points was decide and move. It doesn't matter. This isn't like you're not beholden to this for the rest of your life, but it's not going to start if you don't freaking start. So you got to pick one. Okay. So are we going to do it? We're going to pick our specialty. We're going to declare, stake our claim as an expert, a world-leading expert in something. How do the thumbs feel about being a world-leading expert? Okay, well, we'll get you there. World-leading expert, and then I need you to think about what product does the world need from this world-leading expert? A product, a tangible thing that you can sell, talk about in your social feed. When people ask you what you do, you say, oh, I made this, look, I made this thing. Tangible, because this whole I help everyone, I do health, and then it doesn't resonate with anybody at all. So we need to get really clear on that. So that's step one. That's your homework for today. Would love for you to come back tomorrow. We're going to move this ball down the track. Come back on Sunday, even though I'm up against Sean Baker, where we're going to talk about some stuff like putting it out there on social media. But also, we're at the booth all weekend. We love talking about this stuff. Like, try shutting us up. Like, good luck with that. And we have the workbook, which you can download. And it's 100 pages. Thank you for asking. Yes. Okay, so we're gonna do this, right, gang? We're not stopping. Like that, okay? All right. Nice. Okay, well, have a great day. We'll see you down at the booth, okay? Enjoy.